This was our passage from New Bedford, Massachusetts to Port Jefferson, New York. We spent a few days in New Bedford, Mass, behind our hurricane wall, waiting for the remnants of Hurricane Michael to pass through the area. During this passage, we experienced heavier weather than we had ever experienced before on our boat, at least for any sustained period of time. Very gusty conditions, with probably winds in the 25 to 27 knot range with gusts into the 30s. So it was challenging but helpful to gain the confidence to sail in these kinds of conditions. We generally had really nice weather, really beautiful sunset and beautiful sunrise. This was an overnight passage for us as well. We had initially intended to go to Oyster Bay, New York, which is also on Long Island, but the winds had shifted, so we wound up in Port Jefferson to start, and then the next day made a quick jump to Oyster Bay, where we waited for more favorable conditions and timing to go through New York City. Karen also did a great job on this passage. She was a lot more comfortable with motion in the boat, and even despite the heavy weather, comfortable with the conditions, or at least getting more comfortable with them. Although you haven't seen much of him so far because he's our cameraman, it's been a real joy to have Thomas on the boat with us, especially for me to have another adult to sail with, really. Somebody that's enthusiastic about it, somebody that's very interested in learning how to do it, and having him there for somebody to trip plan with, and has been a real asset. Hopefully you'll see more of him in the future as Miles gets behind the camera a little more, and perhaps I do.
Nothing to say. Just watching this glorious sunrise. Got nothing. It's Miles' birthday. Others call out to me.
We didn't spend a lot of time in Port Jefferson, as I said, just waiting for the weather to become more favorable to go to Oyster Bay. So nobody in our family ever has one birthday. It's more like a few birthday parties spread over a few days. And Miles turned 11 on this passage. This was preparations for one of those birthday celebrations. Lucy and Mom made him a lemon cake and a meal that he really liked. And we had a lot of fun doing that as a family. It's amazing to me how little the kids want. They don't have to have big, extravagant birthday parties. Even just a little gift and the attention that you get on your birthday is really special to them. Lucy loves to bake, and she's getting better and better at it, and this cake turned out really well. She was very proud of herself.
Today we are going to be pulling up anchor, and we're going to be heading to Oyster.
Closer to New York City.
Closer to New York City. Right now we're in Port Jefferson in New York, and
it's a pretty cool place.
Plans are constantly changing when we sail, and probably when anyone sails, and so there's a lot of route planning and thinking on the fly. You do your best to plan the trip ahead of time, but there's constantly changes in the weather, and you find an anchorage that you thought was going to be great, and it ends up not being, so you have to change it. So we go through that often along the way. What I was trying to explain to Karen was that because of where the sails are located on a boat, the center of effort of each of those sails is different, and when the sails are trimmed the right way, they balance the boat, meaning they balance the motion of the boat, and you don't get too much weather helm or lee helm, which is when the boat turns a certain or wants to turn a certain direction. Couldn't seem to find the words with Karen, but that's what we were trying to talk through was, when does the boat feel like it's balanced? When is the boat balanced? And what do we do as sailors to get the boat to sail as comfortably and quickly as possible?
What was it in store of the mooring we used to draw to shore? And assurances are made each day and drawn by light. And what's all that we forgot? All the concepts and the theories, all words have begot.
It's one of the things I love about this experience with Karen and the kids is that we're all in this together, learning things and making mistakes together. And, kids get to see you when you're vulnerable and have failed. And those are things that we sometimes hide from them. And I'm going to quote unquote normal or more conventional life, they don't see a lot of those things. It's not always easy, but generally feels very worthwhile. Now, one of the harder things to try to figure out on a sailboat is how to do things when you're underway, and it can get pretty challenging at times, like even simple things like making mac and cheese.
No, the boat's tilting a little. Look at the stove.
Visions of time that ended all my beloved rhymes.
Next video or episode will be our transit through New York and going through under all the bridges of the city, Statue of Liberty, and then onward to the Delaware Bay, mouth of the Delaware Bay, where we anchored for a night and barely missed smashing the boat into some dredging equipment left behind that was impossible to see at the hour we pulled in.
Winter, and we cannot hold on much longer. We'll catch the firelight to keep us alive. I'll cook the dinner tonight. And the firewood's getting low, and all the embers are seen.